Hey, what's up, everybody? Week 6. Actually, it's week 7. I lied. I didn't do a video in week 6. Sorry. It's a couple days after Christmas. My wife went up north to visit her family. I went up later, but I didn't ghost her on Christmas. Don't worry. But I took the opportunity to get as much as I could done. I have a lot to show. So, yeah, let's get into this. All right, one little disclaimer before I get into this video. You'll probably notice that I've been kind of all over the place with microphones, shooting styles, cameras, all that. One thing that I'm actually fighting is learning this technology as I go. So basically, I have never done anything like this, obviously, as you can probably tell. And I have some of the stuff to do it, but I'm learning as I get into this that it doesn't actually play well with each other. For instance, the DJI Mimo, I think, app doesn't actually support external audio. So more importantly than me being on the camera and pointing at things, I feel like for this video, since I don't have the proper equipment yet, you're just not going to be able to see my beautiful Christmas mustache. I'm sorry, throughout this video. But just a little disclaimer. I'm going to get, I guess, a DJI microphone because, of course, that's what they want you to do, to have it work with the gimbal and everything. So, again, anyways, my apologies. Not that big of a deal, but in case anyone's wondering what the hell I'm doing, that's why I never use this technology until the moment of shooting after I'm done with, like a sprint. And then I try to get it all to work, and I'm like, oh, okay, it doesn't work. So my last video, for instance, that had really terrible audio, and it's because I didn't realize that my external microphone wasn't working while I was using the gimbal. So the last video, you get a gimbal and crappy audio. This video, you don't get a gimbal and better audio. So hopefully the next one will be good. Hopefully I figured it out before the end of the project. Anyways, all right, so back to why you even watch this channel. Jumping right into it, I got pretty much all the plumbing done. There's a few minor things I'll go over that I need to figure out, but as far as like the running water, I should say, it's done. None of the gray water are draining to the tank. So look, starting here, this is an inlet for the water that goes through a 0.5 micron RV filter. I'll get into like this area in a second, but I'm never going to do onshore, so I'm fine with having to open the door to, have to put water in. And just so you know, I have this because I've already run into situations before. Actually, in Custer, I paid money at an RV park to get water. It's actually the only time I've ever paid for water, and it had some like microbe in it that made sulfur, and my water just smelled horrid after that, and I had to like shock it with chlorine and all this stuff to like actually get rid of it. But I had like one of the little crappy, inline filters that RVs use. This time, I'm not even messing around. I'm just going to have a big filter that's always installed that the water has to go through before it even gets to my tank. Right here, this is going to be dedicated to my drinking water. I do Primo. I've talked about this in the past, I think, really quick. Primo, you can get it like everywhere. You can get it at Home Depot, Walmart. There's like it's either 30 or 60,000 locations in the United States. I'm really weird about drinking water, so that's why I'm going to get reverse osmosis, like the typical Culligan 5-gallon jug at any of those locations, and I'm still going to actually route it through another filter. And it's going to have its own dedicated water system, pump everything. It's not going to actually come from that. I like doing that because 5-gallon jugs is a lot more, they're exchangeable. It's cheap. Not only is it cheaper than getting like water elsewhere for drinking water, for, like 1-gallon jugs at Target or whatever, but it's also obviously better for the environment. And it's just really easy. You just go in with your empty jug, say you want to exchange, they're like, okay, and then you walk out with a new jug and you put it in. So yeah, anyway, so that's what this is. Again, yep, so this is the inland or inline from, you know, an onshore hookup to just fill my tank. And then it goes, I really didn't want this to be as bad as it is, but it is what it is. And honestly, I might actually upgrade the inlet to be 3/4 inch PEX. Right now it's 1/2 inch, because in a you want to think about in a situation where you're somewhere and you're trying to get water. I've actually been in a park in Utah, and it was kind of awkward because like there was an outlet, a water outlet underneath a water fountain, and people were like watching me and my friend like filling our vans, but it was like, you know, you need water to take showers and stuff, and it's free water from the city. It was nothing, we weren't doing anything weird or wrong, it was just probably weird to the locals there. So anyways, point is, you want the least amount of restrictions and turns and all that. Every time you add a turn, it's obviously adding restrictions and stuff, but like, especially when you're in a time crunch situation where you're just wanting to fill your water and get the hell out of there, because you might have people waiting for you, or you just might have people looking at you weird. So you always kind of want to think about stuff like that. But so anyways, it kind of goes down here into that. And what these two things are, I guess I'll segue to that. So both of these lines, this actually should be a red, but I ran out of red PEX. Doesn't really matter, because it's really just piping back into the tank. It's not actually going to a faucet or anything. But both of these actually kind of snake and go up here. And then this one goes to the high pressure valve on the hot water tank. And then the other one comes up through here at an angle. I don't have this. This is the one piece of PEX I haven't done yet, but it goes up to this outlet on the hot water tank. And so what that means is I can drain the hot water into the fresh water if I'm like winterizing it or whatever, because again, I live in Minnesota. And then if this purges, I don't have to worry about water going everywhere. It's just going to go back into the freshwater tank. And assume, you know, hopefully I have enough water to not have it damage the tank. When you have like, you know, 200 Fahrenheit water going into this, I think this can handle that. But point is like it'll get diluted pretty quickly into the volume of water that's in there. But yeah, so that's what this is for. So when this goes, I didn't want water to go all over my stuff here. I just wanted it to like go somewhere, and I didn't want it to go in my gray water because it's still good water, and there's no point in running a line all the way to the gray water tank or anywhere else. I just figure it'd be smart to do that. The other nice thing about this too is not only for winterizing, but let's say that I'm in a cold climate, and again, like the wheel wells underneath this, right? So I've insulated as much as I can, but I'm still kind of worried about like this freezing. I've even added padding in between the aluminum and this and everything. But let's say that I am afraid of it freezing, right? So what I can do is I can actually purge this into my freshwater tank and then heat up the freshwater to keep it from freezing. And this is about, I've looked into it. I think this is about 750 watt hours of heat energy, right? To actually, that I would actually be introducing into the system here. I say that because you'll notice I haven't hooked up the hydronic portion of this to the engine yet. I eventually will, probably. But honestly, I'm gonna start out with just the electric to see how that works, because 750 watt hours is what I've read. Isn't really that bad. It's not going to be a huge burden on my van or on my electrical system. So if I can get away with just using electric to heat this water, I'm probably going to do that. But again, we'll see. So yeah, so I have the electric hooked up. That goes up here, and then behind this pseudo wall here, I basically started encasing this whole thing the pump, the accumulator tank, all that in its own area, and then I've insulated it. Now, one thing to note, some of you that have read the manual for these, you don't want to like have this in an enclosed area because the pump does get warm. Honestly, I'm fine with that if it makes it quiet. I would rather have a quiet pump that I have to replace every couple years. I don't know, call me crazy, but and to replace it, it's literally just, you know, unscrewing these. It's not having undue PEX or anything. So I've actually had to replace a pump on my last van. It ran dry and kept running and trying to prime itself for like 2 days, and I didn't notice it because it's so quiet in my old van, because it's like over there underneath in the back of the van that I didn't even notice it. And it worked after that for a while because these are supposed to be able to do that, but point is I replaced it. It wasn't that bad. So, and yep, this has another pre-filter that Pent Air or whatever sells, that, you know, just keeps debris out of, you know, going into your faucet and stuff. And then these hookups are just for the faucet that will, or the faucet that's in the sink, that'll go right here. That's centered on that, which I'll get into in a second. Let's see what else. So yep, insulating this whole area to make it as quiet as possible because it's not going to be kind of in the back anymore. I'm kind of worried actually of how loud this is going to be, but I guess we'll see. And I'm just using the, you know, the Thinsulate, the 600 or the SM600L. That's hydrophobic and won't like absorb the water and grow mold if there is a leak. Let's see. Okay. So another thing to note, and maybe when you're doing your own plumbing, is you want valves everywhere, right? So I have literally valves going pretty much everywhere where there's positive pressure. And you want to do that for a couple reasons. The main reason being, let's say that my cold water line for some reason breaks, or something breaks in here and I have a leak going to my shower, right? Well, you don't want to have to shut down your entire water system, especially if you're on the road. Like, that means you wouldn't have a sink, you wouldn't have anything as far as like running water. So what I would just have to do is turn this valve off, and I'm still like, you know, able to use my van. And then once I get to fixing it, I can basically keep this line off and not very much water would leak, right? So that's one reason. The other, I guess, main reason is for winterizing. If you're pressurizing the system, you might want to pressurize different areas or prioritize different areas like the hot water heater or whatever, and you would just want to be able to turn these off. But, you know, having like valves everywhere is, in my opinion, really important just for, you know, the maintainability and the ability to actually keep using your van while you're on the road. I literally have them everywhere, right? So this is the outlet to the sinks. I have them, the inlet to the water heater itself. And then obviously the outlet to the shower. And then I even have one to the hot to the shower here. So these are fairly cheap on Amazon. I wouldn't suggest getting them at the hardware store. They're like 5 times as expensive, and honestly, they're just, you know, they're just as good. So I think I got like an 8-pack for the cost of like 2 of them at Home Depot. So yeah. For things like that, you know, either MIPS or FIPS, you're gonna, if you've never done plumbing before, you're gonna basically lose your mind. I know I did the first time I did this, and actually I had to kind of relearn some of it when I got back to doing it with this van. But they have MIPS, they have FIPS, they have, what is it, GHT or something, which is like garden hose thread, I think. it's all over the place, right? And then MPT, which is utilized on it's actually like utilized on like gas and stuff, because an MPT thread actually, it kind of tapers in. So when you're putting it in, the thread's fine, but is like, as it goes in and it's like widening into the female, it's it's basically like just sealing itself. So one thing to note is like a MIP will actually work with an MPT, a female MPT, right? But you can't use a male MPT on a female MIP, or a FIP, I should say. It's just crazy like that. You would think plumbing would be somewhat easy, but it's not. But anyways, where I was going with that is these. What I would suggest, anywhere where you have threads, like here, that's a garden hose connector. This was a 3/4 inch MIP, I think. Oh no, I don't have it here. Oh, here, there it is. Use something like this, the pipe thread sealant. I learned that on Far Out Ride years ago, and it works really well. You can use this. I would It's funny, I'm going to be a hypocrite. I would recommend fast tape over this. The only reason I had this is I couldn't find my fast tape and I needed it for something. But point is seal these pretty well, because you don't want them to leak, especially with, vibrations and stuff while you're going down the road. Things can loosen up and whatnot. So as far as the electrical, I try to do everything through conduit. So especially when it's around water, and you're not going to be able to really avoid that. Some people are going to probably see this and be like, what happens if that leaks onto that or whatever? It's like, well, you can't. You're building a van and the stuff's going to be by each other no matter what. So so everything that goes through, in my van, it goes through conduit. That's the best thing that you can do, in my opinion. Not only for maintainability, but also for just safety. If there is a short, it's somewhat compartmentalized and whatnot, and then if water does leak somewhere, there's less of a chance of it getting on your wiring. And then the vibrations of driving down the road, if it's in conduit, it's not gonna like possibly like rub up on something. It's just a good thing to use. A lot of people are probably gonna say that's not really needed, and a lot of people actually use PEX. That's fine too. I just use conduit because I have a conduit bender already, and I guess I'd just rather have it encased in metal than anything else. So but anyways, so this switch, this allows me to turn on and off the hot water heater. As far as wiring, I just went with a marine grade 12 gauge I don't know what this would be called in marine land, but like this would be an NM12-3, meaning there's 3 different wires and it's 12 gauge. The marine grade just makes it to where it can handle vibration more, and I'll get into the electrical stuff more later. But basically it being pre-tinned and everything, you can Google what that means and stuff. It just means that if there is like some type of slit or whatever in the insulation, that it won't start corroding or oxidizing or whatever. And the way the strands are, which again I'll get into later, they just handle the vibration and stuff more. And it being marine grade, it's gonna hold up. So you can get that stuff on Amazon. I can post a link if anyone cares. It's not too terrible. So that's what I used everywhere. And then just like in houses, if you're doing electrical, anywhere where there's a cut in the line, you need a junction box or a gang box that acts as a junction box. So that's what this is, because There's not really a good reason I did it this way. The main reason being, since this whole project's in fluid, I just needed to be able to finish this part of the project and have it to where I can connect the inverter and stuff later, and made it up with this. But yeah, and then this is for the fridge, which I'll get into in a second. So I'm pre-running wire and whatnot as much as I can. And I guess it's been a second, so I'll get into the fridge. So I got the fridge. I don't even know if I had that the last video. I'm really bad at these, I'm sorry. I actually ordered the wrong fridge thinking, well, I ordered it trying to save some money. And in my opinion, Dometic's website, it's okay, but the amount of information out there, like, I've gone through their manual, and maybe I'm crazy. In fact, I have the manual right there. I've gone online to their website. I've looked at the tech specs. I've looked everywhere. They don't really have any great information about mounting it, or like the differences between the refrigerators, like the NRX versus the older CRX, which is also a really badass Honda, but we won't get into that. My wife won't let me get one, so shame on her. But like, they don't really go into mounting it. They don't really go into how many watts it takes to know what gauge wire you need to run. If you were to look at the wire running out of it, now granted this is a short run, it's really thin. And yeah, I found some YouTube videos and stuff, and I'm pretty sure 14 gauge, which seems really small, is plenty to run this. I guess if you look at the compressor itself, it's extremely small, so I guess that makes sense. It's probably not going to be pulling very many watts. And again, I'm running at 24 volts, so I think for my install, that's fine. I learned through another video, let's just open this quick, that these actually pop out. And if you have like timber, as they said, or a wood frame on the outside, you can actually pop these out, and these are actually screw holes to mount it to that. Now, of course, I found that out after I went through all this crazy work to mount it to the bottom. And what I did is, it comes with these, actually I have them on top, or no, I have them in the bag here. I should really be better at getting ready for these videos. I just jump into them. But anyways, so they have these like little feet, right, that come with it. So what I did is I drilled a hole through aluminum extrude and mounted it there, and then obviously mounted the aluminum extrude there. And then for the top, I was planning on actually taking these out and doing the same thing there, so it was at least mounted on the top and bottom. But I mean, right now it's like pretty sturdy. I guess I didn't even finish my first dot, but I thought I was saving some money. I went with the cheaper one and didn't realize it was a fridge only. Now, obviously, I'm not gonna send it back and go through all that. So I went back to the drawing board and designed it to where I'm gonna have a slide out freezer over there. So, which in all honesty might be better, because I had to go with a smaller fridge altogether, and what I thought was a fridge slash freezer. This is actually where the freezer would normally would be. I don't know. I think having a dedicated freezer and a dedicated fridge is probably gonna be better in the long run. And the cool thing about that is that the freezer I'm looking at, which is it's a cheapo, it's not a Dometic, you can turn it into a fridge. So I could have two fridges if I wanted, or, you know, have that dedicated to the freezer. So anyways, that was my own mistake and my frustration with the Dometic fridge. But as far as quality, I mean, these things are supposedly pretty amazing. So what else? So I got the walls done. I got the linear actuators installed and somewhat squared up as much as I can. The van has a stanch right now, so these actually aren't plumb. They're like, I'm actually working on the bed today. As soon as I'm done with this video, that's what I'm going to start working on, is getting the bed framed so I can actually have it in place and basically be able to just make sure everything's going to work. But I have them at least installed and squared as much as I can. The way I'm going to approach this project is I'm going to actually install the bed frame and then lower it so that I know at least from this point it's square, right? Because this has to be extremely accurate. If I'm off by like even a quarter of an inch, you're going to start having binding and all kinds of weird stuff. So easiest way I think to approach this is to frame it all up, install just the frame, and then have it lowered, and then make sure then it's at least plumb this way, and then even as far as gaps on each side. And then theoretically that should be the easiest way to actually frame this. So yeah, that's what I'm tackling today. As far as like the walls are concerned, I actually cut my first bamboo. We resin coated it, which I'll go into that in a second. It actually doesn't even look coated, which is awesome. I actually have the light installed already, obviously, and it's running off of this right here. These things are actually pretty cool, by the way. You can buy them on, I think you can buy them on Amazon, and they just come with an XT60 cord, and they just run Wagos to them, and then you can power stuff. I'm running 24 volt lights, so that's why I'm able to run my lights off of an 18 volt battery. Otherwise, obviously, I'd be, frying the lights and stuff. But yeah, so I got that installed. This turned out really great. This was kind of fun getting everything like perfect, but I got it done. And actually, I didn't even point this out. This is actually not even like fully framed or anything, or put together. I have it just set in there to test it to make sure that the frame was right. But yeah, so the walls are coming together. I really like the paint color with the bamboo color. It's obviously really dark in here right now because I don't have, there's going to be a light underneath. I'm going to have like basically a cabinet here that goes like this to the bed, and then I'm going to have lighting underneath that. And of course now my light just turned off. I don't know why that would happen. Maybe there's a timer on it. But anyways, yeah, so I'm gonna have more light in here. Obviously underneath the bed's gonna have lighting. I'm gonna have actually a light on the side of the bed pointing this way, so it'll reflect off the wall. And yeah, there's just gonna be lighting everywhere. I'm gonna have, I guess, I didn't really finish talking about the plumbing, but we can segue to the bathroom at this point. So I even got a lot of the bathroom done. These pipes, they come through the wall here. Now, I've always talked about like maintainability. What sucks is if this ever breaks, it's going to be a disaster to fix. But honestly, there's no way to avoid that. I think what I could probably do is, I did make this 2 pieces somewhat on purpose, but it's still not perfect to where I could just take the top off. But anyways, hopefully it never breaks. I did get a Moen mixing valve. So the cool thing about these is you can actually take the plate, the handle off and the plate off, and then maybe other brands do this too, probably, but like you'll notice that like all these things actually are cassettes and they slide out. So like if the valve for whatever reason breaks, I don't have to rip apart the entire wall. I mean, in any bathroom, it would suck, right? Especially if you had tile up and stuff. It's just a disaster. So it's nice to get like a good mixing valve. These are expensive, but the maintainability and the reputation of Moen is just great. And I got a Moen, actually I didn't get a Moen, Nebbia. I actually went to the original manufacturer, which I'll get into that when I start doing the bathroom. But anyways, the point is like this is all as maintainable as it can be. The mixing valve is installed, And then this is actually made for a bathtub as well. So this is what so when you open this, it would actually shoot the water down to the bathtub. What I think what I decided to do actually is if I'm winterizing it, I would want to drain everything from all these pipes, right? And what I could do is open the mixing valve, and then again, you want valves on valves on valves. So this one's normally closed, but basically I just open this and it should drain, or it would drain all the way down into my drain spout, which I didn't go over earlier because it's not really done. You'll notice that it just has an elbow there and it's kind of mocked up, but because I ran out of PEX. But basically the idea there is that'll go underneath the fridge, and then out the side here somehow, and then the fascia here, there'll be just a little connector there that I can drain the water out of. My old van didn't have a really good drainage system. That's one thing I didn't really think through when I was building it. So I have a way to drain it, but it's not very much fun. So just to wrap up, as far as like the shower is concerned, I think, you know, it's pretty much complete. This is the conduit going into the junction box I was talking about earlier. This is going to go down, out. The floor is going to be raised here, so I'm going to have it basically go that way to the electrical and then to the inverter. So that's what this is for. It's just mocked up right now. And then this is the vent hose. So when you're obviously I've talked about this in the past, but when you're displacing water, when you're filling it or using it, it needs to either be able to push air out or pull air in. So the idea is the higher it is, the harder if this was full and you're accelerating, it's going to push the water back this way, right? Well, this is called head, if I remember correctly. It's a term for how high a pump can either pull or push water up a pipe, a certain diameter pipe. And the point is like just through gravity or inertia, it would have to push the water up, you know, quite a bit, and then this way, right? So the theory, hopefully, is that should be enough height to where this won't ever leak when I'm accelerating or whatever. And that if it ever leaks, it's going to pour out onto, you know, the floor that will be waterproofed and everything, and then eventually into the shower pan. So hopefully it never happens, but it's good to have a plan if it does. So think through your venting and whatnot. Same thing goes for your gray water tank underneath. It needs to have the same type of mechanism. Last thing you want is like leaking gray water at a campsite or on the road or whatever. But yeah, you know, everything's coming together. Hopefully I can get the bed installed, and hopefully I can get start working on finishing this. And then my plan is to hopefully start framing the floor using aluminum extrude, and then getting these walls done. And yeah, hopefully everything will come together. The next couple videos is going to be me figuring out the bed, the kitchen, or sorry, the bed, the bathroom, getting the electrical wired up. So we're starting to get into the more interesting areas of this video series. The first few were kind of boring, but I don't know. Hopefully I'll also have a mic that works with the gimbal, and from that point on the videos will at least be more interesting and easier to follow. So thanks for watching, and hopefully you learned something. I know I did. Until next time, peace.